Let me tell you, this information is going to affect, I think they have over 1 billion active users. It affects Chrome. It affects Google. It affects Android. So even if you don't use Chrome, even if you use Firefox or Mozilla, or even the Samsung browser, which I've been using a little bit more of, it's still going to affect you. So let's go to the news. Let me pull up. So we got Google's ambitious plans to unify ChromeOS and Android. Google's ambitious plans to unify Chrome and Android. What does it call it? Fuchsia? They're going to call it Fuchsia OS. U.S. lawyers reportedly try to force Google to sell Chrome and disconnect Android from Chrome. So, wow. The United States government is suing Google for being a monopoly right now. They're not just singling out Google. They also have an active case against Apple as well. And they're off and on with Meta, right? So they're actively trying to break up 3 of the probably top 4 or 5 companies in the world. But let's focus on this right now. So the Department of Justice wants Google to sell Chrome. Now, the request would follow this past August's ruling that Google engaged in monopolistic practices. So back in August, they ruled, yes, Google is operating as a monopoly. Now, Google's AI efforts in Android could also play a role in the court's orders. So back in August, the court ruled Google is operating in monopolistic practices, right? And when you get sued for being a monopoly, you don't really know where this is going to go. Now, we reported on this back in August, but that was a huge ruling, and we didn't know where this was going to go. We didn't know the Department of Justice can essentially force Google to break up, right? So they would force Android off of Google. What the hell? Who's going to buy Android, right? Is Microsoft? Possibly. There's bidders that go in and bid for Android. But the lawyers for the United States Justice Department has put out there saying they want Chrome disconnected from Google. So that would mean another company would own it, or it would become its own company, just like Firefox is its own company. They have board of directors, they have a CEO, they have its own employees, its own entity, but not be tied to Google. So how would that play in Google's ecosystem, right? We don't know. And it's kind of hard for me to speculate because I don't really know where this is going. But we got news that they're going to try and disconnect Chrome browser and everything that comes under Chrome from Google. Now, where do the 2 stories tie in that we first talked about, right? So they all came out within a few minutes, and that's for a reason. So let's get into this. Actually, you know what? Let's get into their plan to unify ChromeOS and Android. So now that we know that the US is going to try and break off Chrome from from Google, in timeout, sidebar, I don't think a new sitting president will make any difference, because I was just thinking of that before I hit live. I was like, I wonder how Trump or any new sitting president could weigh in on. Now, the ruling's already been made. They've already been found guilty. So I don't know if Trump gets into office, when he gets into office, if he can have any say-so in them Google wanting, because trust me, Google does not want Chrome. That's their bread and butter. Essentially, that's what they started off as. They started off as a search engine, but Chrome was their second, maybe most profitable. Now, their most profitable entity is advertising. But here's why I think they're merging ChromeOS and Android together. Because if Google knows that they have to sell off Chrome, right? And again, it could just form its own, it could just be Chrome itself and be its own entity, its own business. Or I doubt another huge tech company would buy it, because it would just add on to their monopolistic behaviors, right? Because look, if Google's doing monopolistic behaviors, then technically you could accuse any major tech company of doing monopolistic things. And we'll get into that in a minute. Lord have mercy, don't get me started. It's a heap of bullshit. Excuse my language. I don't normally curse, but it really pisses me off that, well, I'm not going to get into it. Let's stay on topic. Google knew something was going to come of this ruling. If we're just finding out about it, Google's known about it for a while, because the lawyers negotiate this and that. So I heard Google, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, forming this new operating system called Fuchsia OS, which basically merges Android operating system and Chrome OS into one operating system. So in the future, technically, let's say, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, let's say the Pixel 15, right? Still what, 4 or 5 years away. The Pixel 15 could run Fuchsia OS, and the upcoming Pixel laptop that we're about to look at could be running Fuchsia OS. So they've always wanted this. So maybe it's not such a bad thing, because if Google merges Chrome OS and Android together, they could run on that. So instead of downloading Chrome on your computer, let's say you get a new Dell laptop and it just has the stupid Windows Explorer, right? Nobody uses that. Literally, probably the first thing I do when I get a new computer, I go download Chrome. So instead of going to download Chrome, you'd go download Fuchsia OS, right? And it would be its own browser. It would be its own operating system and on tablets and laptops, and it would be its own operating system on phones. Now, Chrome OS is sort of like Android. If anybody has a newer Chromebook, you can download, comes pre-installed with the Android App Store, and you can download and install Android apps on your computer. Or you have extensions, right? Chrome extensions. With the progressive web apps getting more and more progressive, it's sort of headed in that way anyway. So now that they think about it, it may not be the end all be all. It may not be a death blow. Trust me, when you're a big company like Google, or any company that's well run, that has good owners, that has a good board of directors, that have good leadership, they're always planning ahead, right? So regardless if they knew this was coming down the pipes or not, which I kind of think they did, knowing that they've had this Fuchsia OS kind of in the background ready to go, maybe Google's like, fine, we'll sell off Chrome. Imagine how much that will sell for. A lot. 10, 20, 30. If Twitter sold for $44 billion, now I know that was kind of a off sale. What's Chrome going to sell for? $20 billion, probably. So it's not like it's a ginormous loss. It will be a huge change to people like me and you, because Chrome will be something else, right? They may even name it something else. It may even be Dome OS. I don't know. But I think that's why Google is going to kickstart this Fuchsia OS. And I think they've put the development into overdrive, but from this ruling. So we don't know when this ruling is going to come down, but here's their plan to unify Chrome OS and Android together, right? So in June, the search giant announced its intentions to integrate. So they've formally made a statement. They've made an official statement. They intend to integrate components of Android code and technology into Chrome OS. And now that will form its own operating system / browser. So when Chrome does get broken off from Google, this new Fuchsia OS will take Chrome's place. Google's currently engaged in a multi-year initiative aimed at fully transforming Chrome OS into Android, intending to finally pose a competition to the iPad, right? So they want to merge a more unified system, more unified operating system to compete against Apple, right? Mac OS or whatever the hell they call it, I don't know. And now this Fuchsia, now I don't know if they're going to name it Fuchsia OS, but that's what the name was so far. You were able to install it on some devices. I did install it before on a old tablet, or on a tablet I had before I started this YouTube channel. So originally designed for digital cameras, Android has evolved to operate on smartphones, tablets, various other platforms, and it has previously been implemented on laptops. For instance, Lenovo's ThinkBook Plus Gen 5 Hybrid is essentially an Android tablet with a Windows foundation, effectively functioning as an Android laptop. HP and Dell have undertaken similar Android laptop projects over the years. Now Google is following suit. Our source did not disclose which operating system would be used, although we did not anticipate it would be Chrome OS. That's because it's being sold off. So there are plans being put in place on the back end to take Chrome's place. Now, getting into this Google Pixel laptop, this thing is so badass. I fully intend on getting one of these, probably two of these. This is what I've been looking for, and I didn't even know it. Well, I kind of knew it because I haven't really found a great laptop that I really love. You know, that HP OmniBook X, it's cool, but this looks really cool. So Google is reportedly developing a new high-end laptop under the Pixel branding. Referred to internally, already has a code name. The code name is Snowy, like snowy outside. It's snowy outside. This laptop is being compared to several premium models, including MacBook Pro, Dell XPS, Microsoft Surface Laptop, and Samsung Galaxy Chromebook. There's no way they can go and skip corners. I've been begging Google to put out something like this. Their Pixel Slate. They used to put out a Pixel. Do y'all remember that Pixel Chromebook? It had like the Intel Core i7. I think it was like a 10th gen. So it's been about 4 or 5 years since that's been released. I had one of those and I freaking loved it. It was razor thin, ran Chrome OS, and I expect this one to be just as premium. Now, I intend this new Pixel laptop to be premium. It's probably going to cost a little bit, right? If you're going to be up there with these Samsung Galaxy Chromebooks and the Dell XPS, especially the Microsoft Surface laptop, it's going to cost a little bit, but I can guarantee you it's going to be very nice, very premium. However, I wonder, is it gonna run the new Fuchsia OS? Is it gonna run a Chrome OS like operating system? Or you know what? That's exactly what they're gonna do, because there's no way they would put Windows on it. This Google Pixel laptop is anticipated to feature high quality build, premium market competitiveness. It's likely to operate on, wink wink, Chrome OS. Confirmation is still pending. Okay, so it's not going to be running Windows. It will be running. Now, the sell-off, the government, the DOJ forcing Chrome off of Google in their monopoly lawsuit is not in writing, meaning it has not been signed, sealed, stamped, and delivered. Not a done deal, but that's what they are negotiating in the background. So what? There's probably a 80% chance, 90% chance that's what's going to happen, but there's still a 10, 15, 5% chance it might not. But that's why we put Chrome OS. But when this comes out in a year or two, it'll be running Fuchsia OS or whatever you want to, whatever their new Android and Chrome merged operating system is, it'll be running that. That is a great product to launch and showcase just what your new operating system can do, your Fuchsia OS can do. Let's see. It may actually be running Android, as Google appears to be integrating Android and Chrome OS. So it may not be called Fuchsia OS, right? I may just say that by default because that's what I've had in my head for so long. Okay, so what if they call it Android, and Android can be used because again, Chrome OS, again, you can download, install, Play Store, regular apps on your Chrome OS, Chromebook laptop, and on your phone. So they might just call it Android, right? And then in the future, Android 15, Android, I don't know, 17 or 18 will run on both a phone and on these new laptops, right? They just might call their new browser something. So whichever way they want to go, yes, this will be a huge change if Chrome is pried away from Google, but I think Google's going to be all right. It seems like they have plans set in place, and it'll just be a big change to us getting used to everything. But if you love Android and you hate using, or if you hate using Apple products, have no fear. I don't think we're going to have to run to Apple here anytime soon. I think Google, Android, whatever they want to call it, is going to set in place. And I cannot wait. It'll be running on laptops very soon.